Hey guys, Darcy here today, and we're going to talk about what happens when somebody sends you a track, and for instance, the instrumental is not in the same BPM as the vocals, like they changed it when they recorded it. So, let's get into it. All right, so I got a track here, basically just some loops I got off of Splice, put them together to kind of build up the idea of a song. Just like a simple beat with some loops and this vocal here, okay? And so I have a little bit of processing on it just to, give it the flavor to make it feel like this was a real project. But I'm going to play this and you're going to see and hear that these things are not in sync with each other, okay? Right now we have all of these tracks, they're all in tune or in time for 140 beats per minute. And this vocal here, if you can see in the file name, is 146 beats per minute. So let's listen to it and just see what happens.
Young Sando with a smile. Stack up money just like files. Tie my shoes and walk 'em out. I see Reptile chillin' now.
Yeah, so it's not on, right? What we actually can do here is just use some simple features in Luna in terms of the mode, in terms of time, tempo and time, and the warping for the algorithm, okay? So we know that this beat here is in 140 and this is in 146. So if I don't change any settings and I just go 146, you'll see that everything just shifted equally at the same time. But that's because everything's in time mode, so everything is going to be locked to the milliseconds and seconds of the grid instead of the tempo of the grid. So if we go back and let's grab all of these 4 tracks, we're going to then put them into tempo mode. Now, my approach here is that I want to time everything to the vocal. Let's assume the artist took the beat, changed the tempo, recorded to it. So we want to keep everything in sync with the vocals because we don't want them to start getting some weird artifacts and they'll be more noticeable in vocals than other instruments. Let's now put everything into tempo mode. And now we're going to change all of the tempo, to 146. And you'll see that the vocals have now shifted because they're locked to the time and the actual beat has stayed locked to the grid and now it's at 146. So let's take a quick listen.
Young Sando with a smile. Stack up money just like files. Tie my shoes and walk 'em out. I see Reptile chillin' now.
Cool. So now it's in sync. Now, what happens if we put this into tempo mode? Well, now that it's already in sync at 146, we could put this in tempo. And let's make this 150. So now everything will actually visually stay locked to the grid, but the time will change and we can hear what this does to it.
Young Sando with a smile. Stack up money just like files.
Right, you get the idea. Okay, so let's bring us back to 146. So I had this scenario happen with a client in which they had stretched it, but they didn't stretch it by taking the tempo. They used, I think it was Adobe Audition, and it basically did a time stretch, which actually changed the pitch. So now we're going to look at all of these warp modes and how they're going to benefit us. Okay, first off, let's look at these 2 yellow ones. There are drum tracks. Luna has a warp mode called Luna Razorblade, and this is basically transient-based shifting of time, which is really good for drums. So if we solo these 2 tracks and listen to them right now on polyphonic, sounds good, but midway through, I'm going to switch these to Razorblade to see if we just get a little bit more fidelity for the drums. See, where I notice it the most is the hi-hats, just to get a little bit crispier. And the more you stretch this over a wider range of tempo, the more you're going to notice this. All right, now we got those locked in to something that's appropriate for them. Now we have our actual melodic instruments. That's our 808 and our sample. Now, in the sense where the artist had changed the timing and the pitch had shifted with it, what I would want to do is actually switch these potentially in vari speed so that they actually sound more like what the artist recorded to, because that's what they preferred. That this actually happened. So now I'm going to change these in Varispeed because Varispeed will shift it. The pitch will change along with it. So let's do that really quickly. I'll flip it midway through.
Young Extendo with a smile. Stack up money just like files. Tie my shoes and walk a mile. I see Reptile chillin' now.
Now, you might like that. You might hate it. That's totally fine. In this scenario, it's actually quite a big shift. We went from 140 to 146. So the pitch is changing actually more dramatically. In the scenario that I had, I think that they had changed it something like 1.783521 kind of like of a tempo, because that was what the program did when it shifted it in time. It wasn't locked into any, form of a grid. So this is something that you'd want to play with. But basically, if you had that snare, that you would switch Varispeed. Otherwise, I would put this back to polyphonic, and I might see if the 808 sounds a little bit better in a monophonic. So let's listen to that. I'm going to listen to the part where it gets really low. There's no discernible difference in my headphones, but I'm going to leave it on monophonic because it is a monophonic sound. So ideally, it will probably sound better if we need to make further adjustments. Let's say the artist comes back and says they want this at 148 now. This is really all you need in terms of getting everything locked in. Pick what tracks are the ones that you're going to move everything to, in this case the vocal track. You then get everything lined up on whatever tempo they start at, so that's that 140, and then you put them into the appropriate mode of tempo, and then you just can shift them and make sure that you choose a warp that makes sense. Hope you found this helpful. If you did, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, have yourself a good day. Peace, y'all.